You want to know all the answers to what's really behind the Epstein situation and what's still out there to be known? I have them. Chris Cuomo here. Welcome to the Chris Cuomo Project. Why do I have the answers? No, not because I was close to Epstein. I don't think I ever met the guy. I don't know anything about him. I never was around him. I know people were circulating phony manifests that I or my brother were on his plane. This is all bullshit, which is a big part of the Epstein story, is the bullshit. So, are there real things and real answers? Yes, and I happen to have them. Now, I want to talk about all of it, though. All of it. Meaning what? So why are we here? Why are we in this moment of people on the right and some on the left being upset about how the Trump administration is handling Epstein? Because the Epstein matter isn't just about one scumbag. It's not just about one potential child trafficking ring. It's not even about one example of a two-tier justice system. The Epstein situation is a metaphor for so much of the grievance against the elite, the system, the establishment, and the institutions that protect those things. That's what Epstein is for a lot of people, especially in MAGA. Of course, the child trafficking piques interest. People care about kids. They care about kids being protected. They care about kids being exploited. But they are also susceptible to conspiracy think involving human trafficking because they've been fed it by the right fringe on a regular basis. Pizzagate, Clinton, the Democrats, Anderson Cooper, all this bullshit. So people were susceptible. And Epstein is a metaphor for the powerful, the establishment getting away with things, having the system work for them. That's what it means. And that's why it was so powerful for Trump, who was seen as part of that world, to become an alleged fair broker and say, look, I know these people. I know Epstein. And he certainly knew Epstein. He said nice things about Epstein. He partied with Epstein. He knew Epstein. Now, is part of the collapse in the transparency pledge because of Trump's own personal involvement? My answer is 80% no, 20% yes. Meaning what? 80% no, meaning I know a lot of people involved in this investigation as victims, as lawyers, as alleged, as the accused, counsel on both sides, investigate. I really have very deep sourcing on a story I really have never been that fascinated with, to be honest. So, is there proof that Trump was a friend of Epstein? Absolutely. Did he party with him? Absolutely. Did he party with him a lot? Absolutely. What about those pictures about him with underage girls and his hands on them with Epstein? They're fake. They're fake. That's what the investigators believe. That's what the lawyers for the accused and for the accusers believe. Okay? Well, what about the videos? There are no videos. Well, no, there are some videos. There are videos of Jeffrey Epstein abusing women. No, there aren't. No, there aren't. What there are that after an alleged break-in at Epstein's house, there were cameras put in the living room, not in the bedrooms, not in the bathrooms. It wasn't that he put them in as some type of syndicate of spying, but they were in the living room and they did capture certain things. Are they of kids being abused or sexually assaulted or sex or anything like that? Not to anyone's understanding that I have spoken of. Oh, no, but I heard that Tim Pool and I heard Benny Johnson. These people are full of shit. Now, maybe it's innocent. Maybe they really believe it. Maybe they've been sold on this. I don't choose to believe that. I choose to believe they're profiteers and they're provocateurs and they're playing you. And they do that a lot in the MAGA media. And I think the Epstein thing is a great rift. Look, the interesting thing about this story to me is to show that MAGA is bigger than Trump. As the populist movement that is emerging as its counter on the left is bigger than AOC or Bernie or the upstart Mamdani who wants to be mayor of New York City for his first real job. The grievance is real. And I don't mean to disparage any of these people when I say they are the mascot of the movement. I'm just indicating not that AOC is bad, Trump bad, Bernie bad, Mamdani, none of that. They are mascots because the movement is bigger than they. That's all I'm saying. MAGA is bigger than Trump. And you're seeing it. You saw it a little bit on the vaccine, where he created the vaccine. He believes in the vaccine. He took the vaccine. He has listened to the experts about the science on the vaccine. He believes it was helpful in the beginning. And MAGA disagrees with almost all of that on the extreme aspects of MAGA. But they had to swallow that. This, they're not going to swallow. Why? Because metaphorically, it's huge for them. So, well, what do we know? Okay, here's what we know. Is there a cover-up? Yes. There is a cover-up of information related to Jeffrey Epstein, his associations, and allegations related to those same associates. Wait, so there's definitely and intentional concealing of information. Now, here's the weird part. It's not by the Trump administration. And I don't know why they're not telling you this. I really don't. I've been reaching out to AG Bondi. Always had a solid relationship with her. I'm reaching out. Ro Khanna, I'm going to talk to about this, the Democrat, because he's got a bill to release all the information. There's going to be a problem with that, by the way, which I'll get to in a second. And it's a real problem. It's something to think about. But I don't know why Roe or Bondi or Trump or Bongino or Patel or any of these people are telling you who's concealing it and why. And no, it's not the FBI. It's not the deep state. Okay? That's the boogeyman bullshit that these people are selling you to, profit on their podcast. 2 separate judges in New York concealed, redacted, okay, the names of accusers and accused. People saying things were done to them and people who are accused of doing things to other people. Why? 2 different reasons. One, the accusers are seen as victims, so they are protecting the identity of them. The people accused are being concealed. Why? Because their lawyers argued and won that absent full investigation of any of the allegations, releasing their names would be highly defamatory. And none of the allegations wound up being followed up worthy of prosecution. So my question then is, well, if none of the accusations ever amounted to anything, why can't you release the names in that context? And if the allegations never amounted to anything, why are you assuming the people who made the accusations are victims? If they were investigated and found lacking, how are they victims? I know that works for me too. I know that works sometimes civilly. I know that works for cancel culture, but that doesn't work for the FBI or the adjudication of crimes. So that explanation is lacking. Why won't they release what they've redacted, which is part of an FBI document? See, that's where the FBI is hiding it comes from. Remember, it was suggested to Kash Patel or by Kash Patel that the FBI had all these files that they were keeping from them. That was bullshit. Like Bondi saying it's on my desk. As a matter, it was on her desk. She did not have a client list on her desk. You know why? There is no client list. Who says? Who says there's none? Now, first of all, at least you're asking the right question. The wrong question is, prove to me there's no client list. I mean, when are we going to get out of this conspiracy think bullshit cycle? That's not how burden of proof works. Okay? Prove to me that you didn't commit the crime. Only in military justice do they do that. Why? Well, a historical hyper-emphasis on the hierarchy. And if officers say something happened, their word has to be law, even if it's wrong. So in our civilian justice system, it does not work like that. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defense needs say nothing. Needs say nothing. They don't even have to put on an affirmative case. They don't even have to counter the witnesses. They have the opportunity through the confrontation clause of the 6th and 7th Amendment. They have the right to speak themselves on their own behalf or not, 5th Amendment. But due process does not mean that you have to prove you didn't do something. That is this very convenient, ridiculous standard that conspiracists like. Prove to me that Epstein's not a Mossad agent. Okay, here's what we know. No client list. Epstein said he didn't have one. And when they were investigating him, he wasn't able to produce information about other people that would make them interested in anyone but him. Okay? And that's when people put up. Ghislaine Maxwell, you don't think if she had information about other people that could have helped her, she would have brought it up already as she rots in prison? Which may or may not be even a fair disposition of her own case and level of involvement. Lawyers for Epstein, multiple, say no client list. Wouldn't they have wanted to know? Yeah, they would have used it. As they would have used videos, as the videos would have been part of discovery, as would have been the client list. So if multiple lawyers tell you they never heard of any of these things, why would they be part of a cover-up? It worked against them not having these things in play. All right, who else? Lawyers for accusers who receive settlements through the Global Fund. They got measures of discovery. Guess what they say? No client list, no videos of women being abused. So where does it come from? Who cares? It's not true. And did Bondi feed into it? Oh, yeah. Did Cash Patel and Bongino feed into it? Oh, yeah. That's a big part of this story, is that you chose to traffic in this stuff because it's profitable and provocative. I've had multiple people explain to me that I should be easy on Cash and Bongino because they were just operating as entertainers then. On podcasts, you're just entertaining. I hate that explanation. It's so disingenuous. It's such a fraud. And I've seen it used before. Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones both had their lawyers in civil matters stand up and say, my client should not be taken seriously. So he can't slander or defame somebody because he's not being serious. He's not being factual. In Alex Jones' case, the lawyer said he's playing a character. In Tucker Carlson's case, they said he is not to be seen as being taken seriously. He's not talking about facts. Alex Jones is an entertainer. Well, when is this going to be accepted among and within MAGA? When are they going to stop using these people as some kind of touchstone of what's relevant for conversation? It's very frustrating, very misleading, because I got to tell you, the people who listen to these people don't take it as entertainment. They take it as fact. And they get really angry and they get upset, and it shapes their politics and it shapes their feelings about society. It shapes their lives. High blood pressure is a real thing. We have it in my family. It's something I have to deal with people I love and care about a lot. It is the #1 risk factor for mortality in our country. 1 in 2 adults have high blood pressure. I mean, how much more data do you need? It's a 50-50 chance that you could be affected by high blood pressure. So what can you do about it? That's where 120 Life comes in. Now, it's not just for high blood pressure. It's also really beneficial for those with diabetes because you can manage high blood pressure and also help your diabetes, making 120 Life a valuable tool for overall health. Okay? So let's get into it. 120 Life offers visible, measurable changes in blood pressure. Okay? They have a money-back guarantee. If within a couple of weeks of tracking it, and you just need a home cuff monitor, they're easy to get, they're cheap, you can buy them at any drugstore, or you can get them online, and you can just track your progress at home with a monitor after starting to take 120 Life, and you'll see if it works or not for you. Why does it work? Super juices. a proprietary blend of great tasting superfruit juices. Now, unlike a lot of other health drinks, 120 Life actually tastes good, so it's easy to incorporate it into your routine. It's not thick, or any of those other things. Try 120 Life with a 15% discount by using the code Chris at checkout. Just go to 120life.com. You're going to get free shipping. You're going to get your money back, no questions asked, if your blood pressure doesn't improve within just 2 weeks. You can't lose. 120 Life. So, is there a client list? No. Is there a cover-up? Yes. How? There are names of accusers and people who were accused that were concealed by 2 judges in New York. So, why doesn't Bondi tell you that? I don't know. I think that they're a little tripping over their own feet because that's something they should have said early on, and they gave a false promise that they were going to deliver on this. And it's not going away. And I don't think it should. And I think the media and I think the government should pursue legal applications to have the information released. Now, that's going to be touchy. Why? Because what you want is the big name celebrities and Clinton and Trump and whoever that you can say, oh, look, they're scumbags too with Epstein. They were being protected. Not anymore. I'm getting my measure of justice. That's not who we're talking about. Okay? Are there some big names in there? My understanding is yes. Like current people who are relevant? No. Some of them are dead. None of them are in office right now in any significant capacity. Well, then why wouldn't you just release them then? Well, because their reputation is going to be badly damaged unless it is released within the context that these people were found to have done nothing wrong. Now, I don't know that the FBI did enough investigating to say that. Trump is not wrong as president of the United States to be sensitive to this. Now, is part of the reason that he's being sensitive to protecting people's identities because he's one of them? No, but that does get us into the 20%. Remember I said 80-20? It's not about Trump and protecting him. 80% it's not. There's nothing to protect him from with Epstein other than the fact that he was friends with him, but everybody knows that. And that he said good things about a guy who was a piece of shit, but everybody knows that. The 20% is that he does seem sensitive to the interests of rich and powerful people. And I think that's because he has respect for rich and powerful people. I don't, some of you will think that's a bad thing. Some of you will think that's a good thing. I just think it's a thing. I don't have a problem with it. I would hope that you respect people regardless of their means, but okay. And I think he is sensitive to people having shit said about them when it isn't true. Now, is that a little hard to swallow? Yeah, a little bit. Why? Because even though that does sound like the President Trump that I know away from politics on a personal level, it does not sound like Trump the politician who has no problem smearing anybody with stuff that he often knows is not even close to true. So why would he care about these people? Well, he doesn't see them as political rivals. They're not coming after him. So maybe he's got a different level of civility about it. Now, do I think the name should come out? It's not an easy call. I mean, it's an easy call, yes. It's not going to hurt me. It's not going to hurt anybody I care about. But that's not really the right standard. Should accusers' names come out if they don't want them out? Look, unless they're minors, there is an argument to be made that yes, especially with where we are culturally and how many false accusations have been made and how many people have gone down on the basis of an allegation, not legally. Look at Diddy, okay? Look at, other cases we've seen where you try to prosecute somebody for these things. It's not as easy as Me Too, as cancel culture, which is just a crowdsourced consequence of how people feel based on who knows what level of information. So we've seen an allegation is not enough in court, and that's the way it should be. You should have to corroborate and make proof beyond a reasonable doubt, meaning no other story makes any sense except this one. No story makes better sense than the one that the prosecution is telling. So why wouldn't you want the information out? Well, if the accusers don't want it out, you got to think about that. If they're adults, you don't have to think about it as much. If the accused are going to be flogged as having been accused of something and the context isn't handled right, that nothing ever amounted from these accusations, I still think it's going to be damaging for them, but the record is what it is. I've had accusations about me put out that are complete bullshit. That's the way public life goes. Now, they could say, well, I didn't sign up for public life. I'm a private individual who was at a party and I got falsely accused by some woman looking for money. Okay, maybe that's the case. Maybe it isn't. But I do believe there should be litigation on this. You should petition for the information to be unredacted. The judge's rulings do not necessarily have to stand. I think the media should be involved in this, but more importantly, I think that the Trump administration should be leading this. They're the ones who promised. They're the ones who aren't being open about what happened. And that's why Epstein matters. It's not just about what the far-right MAGA people want, which is the names of the rich and famous who are part of a pedophile ring. That's what's been sold to them. That is almost 100% bullshit. Why almost? Well, because Epstein's a scumbag who was involved with underage girls and, is a monster. Oh, well, so is Ghislaine Maxwell. I don't know that. I really don't know how much she knew. I don't know that she's not just a fall guy because Epstein's gone. And they needed somebody. Now, what else do I know that you want to know? Was Epstein murdered? Nobody believes that. Nobody with any knowledge of the case on any serious level believes that they could show that beyond a reasonable doubt, that they could show that to any reasonable level of proof-based satisfaction. So then it was just a suicide. No, it may not have been just a suicide. Why? There is a set of circumstances of convenience that surround the suicide that are suspicious to me. Suspicious of what? That someone helped Epstein. You mean they killed him? I don't know that anybody killed him. But the cameras being on and off and the people not being aware, there are just enough things that lined up that it seemed that there is a chance that Epstein wanted to kill himself, was afraid he wouldn't get away with it, and he made sure that he'd be left alone to do it. It's a little bit of a stretch. I would not want to bet my life on this theory, but that is the best I've been able to put together in terms of what people with knowledge of these circumstances suggest. They do not suggest it was a murder. They do not suggest that there's any proof that there was a homicide on any level. They are open to the suggestion that the cameras were intentionally off. Do we know that as a matter of fact? No. So, what is the truth? It was a suicide, maybe an assisted one. There is no client list, but judges did seal names of people who made accusations and people who accusations were made about. And that necessarily does not have to stand. And the Trump administration knew that when they were telling you they were going to release things and knew they couldn't. And they are guilty of that. Trump should have stayed 100 miles away from this. Of course, he played with it during the campaign because it worked for him. But his people now own it. The left playing with it is stupid and is proof of our poison politics. Hakeem Jeffries should not be talking about Epstein, and I'll tell you why. He's got way bigger problems to deal with for the American people that matter a lot more to the many and not just the few. But why isn't he asking for them to be released? Why hasn't he ever asked for them to be released? The Biden administration had these files. Merrick Garland never did dick with them. Why? If it's so bad for Trump, if they're lying and concealing and all that, why don't you ask for them to be released? Why don't you go and petition the court? He says there are two options. One, that they lied, and two is that there's a cover-up. Well, what about three? Which is the truth, which is what I just said about the judges redacting the FBI document. Does he really not know that? As the lead Democrat in Congress? Really? And you're talking about it in public anyway? And just assuming perfidy on the part of a presidential administration? That's convenient. And look, AOC, same thing. What's the chance that a rapist would complicate releasing the Epstein files? Donald Trump is a rapist. Yeah, E. Jean Carroll, he was found to be a rapist. No, he wasn't. Now, is it a little bit of a semantical difference? Yeah, but it's a real one. And as a lawmaker, you should probably respect it. And George Stephanopoulos and ABC News got jammed up pretty good for calling him a rapist. And I was actually pretty surprised that he didn't go after AOC for it. I think the words you use matter. Now, is it a semantic difference? Yeah, he was found liable for doing really disgusting things to E. Jean Carroll by a jury. Should that matter? Yeah. Did it? No, not really. Is that sad? Yeah, to me it is. But we are where we are. And there are things that matter a lot more to people. And I don't fault them for that. The pain is real in this country. The fear of destiny or a misguided destiny is real. Affordability is real. Culture issues about what we're about and who we are real. I care about those less so than I do the affordability issues. And whether government is for the people and by the people, I think those matter much more than a lot of the other things that we spend time arguing about, because they matter to the many. And I am much more prepossessed with issues that matter to the many than those which are a fascination of the few. And not just because it's alliterative and not because I don't care about minorities or minority rights or interests. Our country's set up to protect the minority, but that's being abused in our politics. It's not that we're talking about civil rights. We're talking about Epstein files. Okay. And Epstein files aren't going away, but that's not necessarily a good thing. Now, I'm okay with it because they put up and then they shut up. They put up that they were going to release these things. And after they knew that that's not how it was going to go, they kept on promising it. And they are people who trafficked in this. And I think there should be a price. There should be an accountability. And I'm glad that MAGA is, or, you know, I'm not glad. I'm impressed. I'm impressed that MAGA is pissed off at Trump and co. They should be. You have been poorly served here. You've been bamboozled. You've been led astray. You've been run amok. And all the other things that Malcolm X said. You've been had. You've been took. Bamboozled. Led astray. Run amok. There is no client list. There are no videos. There is no list of somebodies who were partaking in disgusting things with Epstein. There are names of people who were accused, some of whom you might identify or recognize, and they have been redacted by judges, not by the administration, not by the DOJ, not by the FBI, not by Trump, not by the left. Judges. And it can be undone, and it should be argued by the media and by the administration and lawmakers on the left and right, as far as I'm concerned. Do I know what the right outcome is? No, not really. No, not 100%. To me, I always err on the side of more and better. But I know it's not going away because MAGA has been deceived about something that matters to it. And not just on the petty level of this prurient interest, this vicarious appetite to see big shots go down, but it's about accountability, especially where kids are involved, that there's one system, that there is fairness under law, and that she is blind as justice. And that's what Trump was supposed to represent to people. Look, I know some of you are rolling your eyes like Trump was supposed to represent. Listen, we had an election. He won. This is a reason people voted for him. And he didn't deliver on it. And it matters. And it's not going away. And him telling people to leave it alone isn't going to work. It's not. And Dan Bongino, if he wants to quit and go back to being a pod guy, I guarantee you he starts selling that there's more there than they want you to know. I guarantee it. Now, I'm not besmirching him. It's just what works in that world. And he's already invested in it. I met him once. I found him to be a decent guy. And you may say, fuck you, I hate him. That's fine. People feel the same way about me. I don't care. I can't use how you feel about people to inform my own feelings. I have to go on what I know and what they show to me. Okay? And I think you should do the same. You shouldn't form your opinions about people based on what I tell you about them. You should check it. You should make sure it's accurate. You should make sure it's fair. And you should see what context you can put together yourself. But there is information about Epstein and the people around him that you're not being given. And there is something that can be done about that. And I don't know why the administration is not saying it. And I don't know why they're not doing more about it. But we're going to stay on it because that part matters, because it was made too much to the American people. And now it's got to pay off one way or another. And there has to be accountability. But Epstein is not going away. And I don't think that the left should pick up the mantle unless they're looking to go to court and get the names released. If they're not doing that, then they're just part of the problem. That's all. And they're just fanning the flames of the fires burning within the MAGA world right now. Now, there's one other thing about Epstein that matters. Epstein is still being used as an article of convenience. Have you noticed that this splinter group within MAGA that has a weird ally in the fringe left? You now have Tucker Carlson lining up with like Cenk Uygur on the left fringe. How so? Epstein is now a Mossad agent. Trump is now protecting these people because of Israel's telling them to. What the fuck? Where does that come from? Nowhere. But Benny Johnson and Tim Pool and these other guys, they're trafficking in it. Why? Because they're going to use it the same way they used it before. They used it before to bash the government, to have you distrust the institutions of government and only trust them with their little ski hat on and their little tight shirt. Now they're using it for you to be anti-Zionist. The same people who didn't want Trump to bomb in Iran, which I understand, and I think the process of that was perverted and Congress should have had a role in it and didn't, and they're a bunch of pussies. But those people who are against foreign engagements, who are the real nativists, the real nationalistic, fuck everybody else, America first and only people, do not like Israel, do not want us involved in Iran, do not want us involved in Ukraine, and they are going to use Epstein as a wedge issue on that. How? Epstein's dead. By saying he's a Mossad agent, by saying this is about Israel. Epstein lives as a wedge issue until it is finally put to bed. And Trump isn't doing that. And his people aren't fighting for it as far as I know. And I don't know why. Those are all the best and most complete answers and the most relevant questions surrounding the Epstein files. Those are the right answers. Those are the best answers. They may not be the most satisfying, but they are true or more true or closer to the truth than anything else that I've heard out there. And it's not going away. Support comes from OneSkin. We're all into wellness these days. It is hard to know what is the best in a particular space of product. OneSkin's formula is its formula, and its OS01 peptide. It is the first ingredient proven to switch off the damaged senescent cells. And that's what causes lines, wrinkles, and all that crepey skin that you get when you're over 50, like me. Hooray! Also, OneSkin is free from over 1,500 chemicals and preservatives that people usually use and that irritate skin, make your skin itchy. All OneSkin products are certified safe for sensitive skin. They're dermatologist tested and approved by independent testing platforms like SkinSafe. And I also kind of dig that it's all women-led as a team of skin longevity scientists. OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company. They focus on the cellular aspects of aging. And by doing that, OneSkin keeps your skin looking and acting younger for longer. Now, for a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using the code Cuomo at oneskin.co. 15% off at oneskin.co with the code Cuomo. After you purchase, they're going to ask you where you heard about it. Please show some love to your boy and tell them that you heard about OneSkin on the Chris Cuomo Project. Get your skin the scientifically proven gentle care that it deserves. That's OneSkin. Look, I think we should be more focused on what matters to the many. and what's influencing affordability and what's influencing real grievance than these pet issues and peccadillos like Epstein? Is there an accountability issue, a transparency issue? Yeah, there is. But a lot of that has been hyped up, and it distracts us from what really matters. For example, and I want to use it as a pivot. While we're talking about this, we're not talking about what's happening on Main Street in the economy. We're not talking about small businesses. We're not talking about what we see in the job rate. We're not seeing the impacts of interest rates on consumer debt and people. So what do you focus on? What are you supposed to be asking about and researching and paying attention to when there's all this noise and stuff being brought your way? That's why I partnered with Dr. Kirk Elliott of Kirk Elliott Precious Metals. His head on what matters, what he's looking at as an investor, what stories, what narratives, what themes, what data matter to him in making investment decisions, and his advice to the rest of us about how we stay focused on our finances in this machine of noise that we're all trapped in. Here's Dr. Kirk with his take. Dr. Kirk, let's see if you can help me figure out how to deal with what's happening all over us, which is people get paid to stir you up. People get paid to provoke you. And online, we're more and more receptive because we're more and more living through our phones. And I'm sure that you have gotten an increase in contacts of people saying, hey, I heard this. I need to do this now. Or someone said that this is going to happen. Or I just found out this conspiracy theory. There's so much propaganda going on, so much mis and disinformation. From an investment perspective, what should people pay attention to and what matters to you?
You're the king at asking really hard questions and good ones, which is great. So, but you're right. Our phones ring off the hook with people asking that exact same thing. So people are people, right? And people are emotional creatures, which we all want something to believe. All of us, right? Whether it's a conspiracy theory or whether it's a Pollyanna moment where it's like, oh, I'm just going to put my head in the sand. And if I keep it down there long enough, the storm will go over and I'll pop back up and everything is going to be just fine. Everything possibly isn't going to be just fine economically. If you do something right, though, if you act accordingly, you can withstand a storm. And in fact, you can thrive during the storms. Like, for example, when interest rates are going up, you don't want to be in bonds because the price comes down. When interest rates are going down, the price of bonds goes up. It's like, okay, that's a great time to be in bonds. If you're holding a bond for interest income, well, you don't want to lock in a 30-year bond when interest rates are 4%. You'd want to do that in like 1983 when they were 18%, right? But people have this perception that, oh, when stocks stink, let's go into bonds. When bonds stink, let's go into stocks. Chris, what about when they both stink at the same time together? Because we've got an inflationary environment with this geopolitical conflict globally. Nobody knows what's going to happen. And when people invest, they want consistency of future expectations. They want to be able to know, let's just say you're investing in any stock, Microsoft. I'm just making up. It's like, oh, I love their management. I love their products. Everybody's using them. The economy is booming. And I'm going to invest in this stock because 5, 10, 20 years down the road, I want my retirement to grow. I'm not picking on them as a company. I'm just saying, I just picked a name, right? But so let's now say there's some kind of a hurdle. There's a war in the Middle East. A bunch of jobs get laid off. What about all the tariffs and all the talk of that? Is that good or bad? Is it really going to drive income into America? Are we going to be able to get rid of our taxes because IRS taxes because tariffs are going to pay for them instead? Nobody knows, right? So when you think of that, it's like there's a bump in the road here. I'm going to pull back the reins. I'm going to sit in cash because I don't want to invest if I don't know what the future looks like. Well, here's the problem. We've got banks where liquidity is They're starved for liquidity. Banks are undercapitalized because since COVID, you have more withdrawals going out than you have deposits going in. That's what happens when people lose their jobs and when their wages aren't keeping up with inflation. Well, this is why banks fail, Chris, is because you've got more withdrawals coming out than deposits going in, and banks are investing in the same things that we are. Well, what if it's just on large scale? Well, what if that's not doing so high? Banks are going to fail. I'm seeing what's coming next in this economy is a cycle of bank failures, maybe even much bigger than Silicon Valley Bank, Signature Bank, Credit Suisse, First Republic, when they all went down a couple years ago, because we've got this crisis happening. So here's where I say, well, don't have too much money in the bank if you don't know that they're going. So when people don't put money in the bank, it's going to exacerbate that problem. So what do we do? Right? So here, what do we do? Tangible assets, things that are real, whether you're talking about land, real estate, gold, silver, things that are tangible can never go to zero, right? Because there's an intrinsic value to them. Now, I wouldn't necessarily look at real estate as a phenomenal investment right now, even though it's tangible, because you have to borrow to get it. Well, banks are running out of money. The propensity for them to lend out money is not going to be there, which is why real estate's coming down. So tangible assets that you don't have to borrow for. Gold and silver, I love it. Nobody takes out a loan to buy gold or silver, and gold or silver have no political risk to it. There's no counterparty risk, right? Even if a currency like the Russian ruble is going to back their currency with gold, let's say, well, the ruble can fall out of favor. You can have exchange rate risk, political risk. People might start freezing their assets. But if you own the asset that they are backing their currency with, there's no counterparty risk to it. It is what it is. So I always look at things in their simplest form. Buy what people want, right? When that's increased demand, that'll cause supply to come down and prices will go up. And then when they don't want it anymore, it's going to be at a high point. So then you sell it at the high point. This isn't rocket science, Chris, but you have to understand how the puzzle pieces fit together politically, economically, socially, people's worldview, their perception of the future, their confidence or lack thereof. When you add all that together, it really becomes kind of easy to determine what is going to go up, because these are big macro trends, right? Way bigger than you and me, way bigger. And we just identify them.
How hard is it for you to deal with clients these days who are taking in so much political stuff and so many versions of reality that may or may not be true?
It becomes harder every day because most people are becoming podcast junkies or news junkies, right? And they go from your show to somebody else's, to somebody else's, to somebody else's, and they're watching maybe 15 different narratives all in the same day. And what people have to do is start to identify which one of those narratives has been right most of the time. Who do I trust? And continue to listen to them, amplify the time and magnify the time you're listening to that one, and start to get rid of some of the rest. Because that confusion, that noise is going to cause you to ultimately get confused and stressed and not make the right decision because he said this, she said that. I don't know who to believe anymore. It's just all over the place, right? So I just tell people, it's like, who do you like? Who has tended to make the most sense to you in the past and currently? What's resonating with your heart? And then I encourage people, just listen to them, right? Because too much noise will cause confusion. Confusion causes people to make bad decisions.
Well said, Dr. Kirk. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you to Dr. Kirk for helping us keep it straight in this ever more confusing and noisy world with all these narratives and false narratives and what we're supposed to pay attention to and what's true today is untrue tomorrow. So thank you for a little bit of clarity there. And thank you for going along on the ride with me here at the Chris Cuomo Project. Thank you for subscribing and following, checking me out on Substack. Every Thursday, I'm going to do a live there with somebody. And if you are a paid subscriber, I will address your questions and I will ask them to our guests. So thank you for that. Thank you for checking me out at News Nation, 8 p and 11 p every weekday night. And thank you for being an independent critical thinker and wearing your independence with your free agent gear. The more you buy, the more money we have to give away together. My brothers and sisters, the problems are real. We know the approach. Let's get after it.